Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another video of Be the Best DFS Daily Fantasy Sports Talk. Today is Thursday, October 6, 2016, and this is going to be my Week 5 video for the NFL, my lineup strategy for GPPs, for FanDuel, as well as DraftKings. Hope all y'all got to catch the Week 4 video. Ice in my veins, Matty Ice and Julio Jones, they had a great performance, a historic performance. First time in NFL history that a quarterback and wide receiver tandem put up those type of numbers in the game. Matt Ryan, 500 passing yards. Julio Jones, 300 receiving yards. It was just a great game, and just as a Falcons fan, it was great. And from a daily fantasy perspective, they definitely helped me win a little money. I didn't spend that much. Combined between FanDuel and DraftKings, I won about $40. And I reached my goal as far as improving each week. I got my season high in points on both sites. I had 142 on FanDuel and 184 on DraftKings. You know, to just quickly recap week 4 as far as my lineups, basically that stack was the reason that I was able to be successful in cashing a lot of the tournaments I played. I got an email from FanDuel. They said that if you had that Matt Ryan and Julio Jones stack, 95% of the lineups with that stack was in the winners and in the cash. So if you played that, it's most likely that you won some money. Other than that stack, I had a good week, but this DeAndre Hopkins, oh my goodness, he messed me up. One catch for 4 receiving yards. I'm a basketball player, but I could have went out there and did better than that. You know, 1 catch, 4 yards, so he didn't do nothing. And with his high cost, you know, that kind of stopped me from winning even more money. Also, LeGarrette Blount, he had a bad game. And who else? The New England Patriots defense only put up 3 points on FanDuel. I think maybe 3 points on DraftKings. So I always mess up on the team defense. But overall, you know, I'm just glad I won. You know, I'm thankful. And like always, I truly mean it. I count the wins as a blessing, because it's hard to win in this DFS. So, you know, just to be able to win something is better than winning nothing or losing your money. So, again, y'all know I don't like to dwell on the past. Week 4 has really given me a lot of confidence for this upcoming week 5. I'm really, really excited about it, and you know, hopefully I can do better this week. So with that being said, I'm gonna get started with this slate for week 5. And you know, again, you know, I'm playing GPPs on the NFL. I'm a GPP type of guy. So as always, I like to begin my lineups with you know, a quarterback wide receiver stack. And for this week, week 5, I'm taking it to the black hole in Oakland. And that's Derek Carr at quarterback. And I'm going to stack him with not Michael Crabtree, but Amari Cooper. That's my favorite stack, you know, for this week. I believe they're in a good matchup, in my opinion. The San Diego Chargers, they're 28th versus the pass. That's a thing that spikes my interest, one factor. Being 28th against the pass, I expect Derek Carr, you know, to, you know, throw all over the Chargers. Another thing, I saw the notification or the alert, the news yesterday that one of the Chargers cornerbacks, Verrett, he has a torn ACL and he's out for the season. So you take him out their secondary, that even makes them more vulnerable. And then Derek Carr, he only had 199 yards passing last week, but he had 4 touchdowns, and that's good. If you look at his game log, the last 2 times he played a pretty bad defense was week 2 versus my Atlanta Falcons. He passed for 299 yards and 3 touchdowns. In week 2, the Falcons was 30th versus the pass. And of course, in week 1 against the New Orleans Saints, in week 1, the Saints was ranked 31st against the pass, and he had 319 yards passing. Now, the Baltimore Ravens last week, They were second versus the pass, so he had 199 yards, kind of low. But now he's playing a defense that's weak against the pass, like I mentioned again in the Chargers. And I expect him to have a solid game. The Oakland Raiders, they're 3-1. The game is in the black hole in Oakland. All those fans are passionate. You know, they got all that silver and black on their face. This is an opportunity for this organization to really show that they are about winning. We all know the Raiders, they haven't really been doing anything for like the past 13 years or so. I don't even think they made the playoffs since they made the Super Bowl against the Buccaneers back in 2003. So with this game being at home, you know, their fan base, they already starting off 3-1. I expect Derek Carr to be locked in and have a good game. And that's the reason he's my favorite quarterback play for this week in week 5. Now, as far as the stack, Michael Crabtree, he's been having a great season. I'm about to pull him up real quick to look at his stats. Give me a moment. Michael Crabtree, right here. Okay. Crabtree, he got four receiving touchdowns on the season. Last week he had 3. So I know a lot of people probably would, you know, think Crabtree is the good play to stack David Carr up with. But for me, I have a GPP mindset. And Amari Cooper, he's the number 1 receiver. Yeah, Crabtree has been playing like the number 1 so far through the first 4 weeks of the season. But let's not forget about Amari Cooper, man. This guy, I believe he was a first-round pick. And then you look at Amari Cooper's game log for this season. He's yet to find the end zone. He's a better player than that. And I believe that in week 5, he's due to, you know, find his way into the end zone. And then when you think about it from a GPP standpoint, you know, a lot of people probably would pick Crabtree. But Amari Cooper may go overlooked. So when I consider those factors, you know, I feel like Amari Cooper is a great play. I think he had over 1,400 receiving yards last year as a rookie, if I'm not mistaken. And then the last time that he played a bad defense, I mean, he didn't do too much against the Falcons, but against the Saints in week 1, it's just check his game log. 11 targets, 6 receptions, 137 yards. The only thing that messed him up was he didn't find the end zone. And I really feel that this San Diego Chargers defense is going to be vulnerable this week. And I think Amari Cooper is a great GPP play. So Amari Cooper, David Carr and Amari Cooper stack, that's my top stack for week 5 for GPPs and tournaments this week on FanDuel as well as on DraftKings. Now, a lot of people could think about doing the Oakland Raiders stack. David Carr, Amari Cooper, and Crabtree. But for me personally, one of the strategies I use, I don't like picking 2 wide receivers on the same team because I feel that it's more likely the case that only one of the wide receivers go off. I mean, it's only one football, so unless you expect, you know, both of them to get 2 touchdowns apiece, I'd rather just kind of give myself more options by finding wide receivers from different teams. So me personally, I'm not going to use Crabtree and Cooper, even though I think they both are in good spots. But for a GPP mindset, David Carr and Amari Cooper, that's my top stack, you know, for week 4. I'm quickly going to talk about my second favorite stack. You know, I make about maybe 3 lineups at the most every week. I think this week I'm only doing 2 lineups. And my second favorite stack for week 5, it's an expensive one, a premium cost one, but it's going to be Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Ben Roethlisberger is 8,600, and Antonio Brown is at a extremely high cost of 9,600. It's a very high cost. I'm not even gonna lie, but that high cost makes him a good GPP play because a lot of people not gonna know how to fill up the rest of your lineup when you spend that much on those two players. But later on in this video, I'm gonna talk about some good value plays. But Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown, I think they're in a good spot playing up against the New York Jets. They're at home. Hopefully the weather isn't bad or anything like that. And then when you look at statistically, the Jets are 27th against the pass. Hold on, just trying to adjust my lineup. Sorry. Okay, yeah, the Jets are 27th against the pass, and then I think I heard that Darrelle Revis has been battling some type of injuries this week, so he may not play. But even if he does play, he been getting carved up this season. Revis Island just isn't the same island it was about 5 years ago. And Antonio Brown, he's a dynamic player. He's probably one of the, along with Julio, he's right up there arguably the best wide receiver in the league. It's definitely a conversation between him and Julio. Of course, I think Julio's the best wide receiver. He showed what he did in week 4. But anyway, Antonio Brown, we all know he's good, man. So definitely Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown. It is a premium cost. Like when you use those two players, you have to know how to find value. So when I go over my value plays, definitely pay attention to that. But that's going to be my second favorite stat for this week. So I'm going to have two lineups, one built around David Carr and Amari Cooper, and then the second one built around Big Ben and Antonio Brown. Now that I've talked about the two stacks that I like, I'm going to go through each position and tell you about, my favorite plays. So at wide receiver, excluding my stacks, I like AJ Green. He's kind of high priced, but I was thinking about it as I was building my lineups. I don't even know who Cincinnati's number 2 receiver is. I honestly don't know. And I like to think that I know a lot about, all the teams and the depth that they have at each position. I can't even name you Cincinnati's second receiver. And then to add on to that, Tyler Eifert, the tight end, he's not going to be playing. AJ Green, he had a strong game. His last game on Thursday night, 173 yards receiving in a touchdown. If you look at his game log, out of the 4 games, he's had at least 11 targets in 3 of the 4 games. So I just think there are no other options. Dallas, they're 20th versus the pass, so they're not that great versus the pass. Where the game is being played at Cowboy Stadium, you don't have to worry about any adverse weather conditions. So AJ Green at 8,700, he's definitely one of my favorite wide receivers for this week. Like I mentioned, Crabtree is in a great spot. I like Jordy Nelson for 8,400 for the Green Bay Packers coming off a bye. I think he's a good wide receiver. I hate to say this, but Emmanuel Sanders, he's been looking good. Just check his game log. Last 2 games, 18.8 fantasy points in week 4 and 28.2 fantasy points in week 3. And the Falcons are 31st against the pass. So Emmanuel Sanders and Demaryius Thomas, in that case, they're both in play as possible good wide receiver plays. It hurts me to say that, but be careful when you do that because Desmond Trufant, he's a real one at cornerback for the Falcons, and I think he might be able to contain one of them, whichever one he's checking. Sterling Shepard of the New York Giants, I think he's a good wide receiver play. The Green Bay Packers, they're 11th versus the pass, but I think I like Shepard. I just like him as a gut play. DeAndre Hopkins, I'm not messing with him. That guy, he just had me so disappointed for week 4. And anyway, they're playing against the Minnesota Vikings. The guy Xavier Rhodes, the cornerback for Minnesota, we saw how he shut down Odell Beckham. So I wouldn't mess with DeAndre Hopkins. He might have a good bounce back game, but I'm not touching him at all. And let me give y'all my assessment on Julio Jones. We saw what he did week 4, 300 yards receiving, amazing game. He averaged the most fantasy points per game at wide receiver for all the receivers on the main slate. But for this week, I think Julio Jones is a good player to fade. My reasons for fading Julio Jones, you got to respect the Denver defense. They're Super Bowl champions. They got Von Miller over there, Akeem Talib. I think their other cornerback name might be Harris. I'm not sure. But they're a respectable defense. The game is on the road in Denver, so the weather could be a factor. And, after his performance last week, it spiked his interest. A lot of people, well, not a lot of people, he's going to be higher on than he was last week. 300 yards, people going to pick him. So with his increased ownership that I'm predicting, I think he's a good fade. Now, I think Julio's going to have a good game. I think he's going to have at least 100 yards receiving and at least 1 touchdown. But those type of statistics, it's not good for his price tag of $8,900 and his increased ownership. You can find other players, to do the same thing at a lower price and lower own. You know what I'm saying? Like, what he did last week, he was worth the price. 51 fantasy points or 42 fantasy points, depending on what site you was on. But I don't see him getting those type of numbers this week. He'll have a good game, don't get me wrong. But in daily fantasy, you have to consider the salary prices. And at that high salary and increased ownership, for me, he's a player that's a good fade for this week. So that's my take on Julio Jones. And I think that's about it for wide receiver. Let me give you my value plays for FanDuel and sleeper plays at wide receiver. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mention Steve Smith. I love Steve Smith Sr. this week at the wide receiver position. 6,300, good price tag. The Washington Redskins are 26 versus the pass. The last 2 weeks, Steve Smith has had 11 targets. Now, he's old, but, Steve Smith, that's one of the players, he not going to, if he have a bad game, it's not because of lack of effort. That guy, he's going to go out there and play hard and give it his all. I know because I watched him when he was with the Panthers playing against the Falcons all the time. He's going to go out there and give it all he got. So with him having 11 targets each of the last 2 weeks, the Redskins not that good versus the pass. Steve Smith, another great play at the wide receiver position for this week. And also Jarvis Landry. Jarvis Landry for the Miami Dolphins. I'm not sure with that hurricane if they're going to even play the game in Miami or Nashville. But Landry, through the first quarter of the season, he's second in receptions with 31, and he's second in targets with 45. Targets is very, very important. So Jarvis Landry, definitely don't forget about him. He's a good play this week, and I definitely got him in my lineup. Now back to the value and sleeper plays for FanDuel. Michael Crabtree, good value at 6,900. Mike Wallace for the Baltimore Ravens, good value at 6,300. Quick for the Los Angeles Rams at 4,500. That's one of those value plays you can use if you use that Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown stack. And then I also have Marcus Wheaton for 5,500 of the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's a good value play right there. I'm going to move on to the next position, running back position. So my favorite running back for week 5, I like Ezekiel Elliott. He may be kind of chalky, 7,900 on FanDuel, but statistically speaking, he's the leading rusher in the NFL at 7,900. I'm sorry, not at 7,900. He's the leading rusher in the NFL with 412 yards rushing on the season. He's also number 1 in carries with 94 carries. Those are two things that you need, as far as to get points for your running backs. It's good to look for running backs who are going to get those carries and, of course, the yardage. And he's number 1 in yardage and carries. The game is at Cowboy Stadium. Again, you don't have to worry about their weather. The Bengals, they are 14th against the rush. They're in the middle of the pack. But, Ezekiel Elliott, I really, really like him at running back, for this week. Another running back that I like, this is just a gut feeling, Todd Gurley. He hasn't been playing good this year. I'm going to look at his game log real quick. He's failed to reach 100 yards rushing. But the thing about Todd Gurley, I know a little more about him because he played for Georgia, and they always used to talk about him on the local news. He's just one of those players who has the potential. I'm sure if y'all did season-long drafts, he was like the first or second running back chosen. Now, he has struggled, again, like I said, but he does have the potential to have a breakout game, to have 150, even 200 rushing yards. He can do it. He turned up last season. I guess he's like in a sophomore slump. But if he does happen to have a good game, I just hope I have him in my lineup. So I definitely have some exposure to Todd Gurley this week at 7,600. It's not based off the first 4 weeks or what he's done statistically or the matchup. That's just a gut play for Gurley for GPPs. So those are my top 2 running backs. I want to talk about, a very, very important value play in my opinion. DeAndre Washington for the Oakland Raiders at $4,700. I'm definitely going to be using him as a value play between FanDuel and DraftKings. But Latavius Murray, it's been announced that I believe he's doubtful to play. DeAndre Washington isn't a widely known player, but he's a rookie. And, rookies, they come out there, they want to prove something. And let me find him real quick. Sorry. Washington. If you look at, his game last week. Let's see. His game last week, 5 rushing attempts for 30 yards. That's 6 yards per carry. If Latavius Murray doesn't play, I think this guy is the ultimate value play for GPPs. I know a lot of people not going to be on him. To my surprise, last week, Jordan Howard, he was owned highly. He was like 20% owned. He did what he had to do for me, had like 114 rushing yards. But at this price, I think you can take the chance on DeAndre Washington, especially if you using those high-priced players like Green, AJ Green, and Antonio Brown, and Big Ben. Definitely, I think DeAndre Washington is one of those value plays that you can use at running back. Other value plays at running back, Darren Sproles for $5,400 on FanDuel. But other than that, FanDuel, their pricing is kind of different than DraftKings. I didn't really see too much value. But those, DeAndre Washington, that's my top value play and sleeper play at the running back position. Let me talk about quarterback real quick. Again, I like Derek Carr. I really like Derek Carr this week. I'll quickly talk about Matt Ryan. They put his price down $200 less than it was last week. Last week it was $7,900. This week on FanDuel it's $7,700. I'm not playing Matt Ryan, but if you're one of those guys who can make like 10 different lineups, I definitely say use a Matt Ryan, Julio Jones stack. Simply because of his price and the way he's been playing. And nobody's going, he'll be low owned versus Denver defense. And he's on the road. So if you're making a lot of lineups, definitely use Matt Ryan. Aaron Rodgers, 9,100. Pairing him up with Jordy Nelson, I think it's a good stack. But for my expensive one, I'd rather use Ben Roethlisberger than Antonio Brown. So Aaron Rodgers is a good play in my opinion, if you believe in him more than you do Ben Roethlisberger. Now, Tom Brady, Psycho Tom coming off the 4-game suspension. I'm not having any exposure to him. I know Tom Brady is a great quarterback, 4-time Super Bowl champion, league MVP, future Hall of Famer, but he's human, and this is his first game back. It is on the road. The Cleveland Browns, they super sorry. I know they super sorry, but they are professionals. Now, I'm not saying Tom Brady is going to have a bad game, but from a DFS perspective, I feel it's too risky. It's too much uncertainty about, how he might possibly perform at a price tag of $8,700. Now, if he was like lower price, I might consider him. But again, this is his first game back. He could do good, but I'm not about to risk it. Like I said, I only do like 2 lineups, and that's too risky for me. But if you're about taking risks, I guess Tom Brady could be a good play. But let's remember, he is human now. So I know he's Psycho Tom, and he's one of the all-time greats. But I'm not using him this week. I might look at him next week or something based on how he performs, this week. But this week, it's just too much of a unknown factor and uncertainty about, for me, about how he's going to perform. I think Matthew Stafford is a good sneaky play at 8,200. A lot of people forget about him, but this guy, he loves to throw the ball. So, it's at home. A lot of people been respecting Philadelphia's defense. So nobody's going to be on Matthew Stafford. Kind of similar to like Matt Ryan last week. So Matthew Stafford could be a good GPP play if you're making a lot of lineups. And then the last 2 that I like is Joe Flacco playing at home against the Redskins. He could be a good sneaky play at 7,600. And also Andy Dalton. I don't like picking quarterbacks on the road, but, Dalton and AJ Green stack, well, I put it like this. If you stack Dalton with Green, use it. But don't just use Dalton by himself. But Dalton could possibly be a good play. And if I'm not mistaken, Andy Dalton, I think he's from Texas, maybe even from Dallas. I know he went to TCU, which I believe is in Dallas. So if you're about the game narratives, Andy Dalton, he could be a great GPP play. Trust me, if I could make like 5 to 10 different lineups, I would have my Derek Carr and Amari Cooper stack, my Ben Roethlisberger and Antonio Brown stack. Then I have a Matt Ryan and Julio stack and an Andy Dalton and AJ Green stack. I really, really like Dalton, but I'm not going to pull the trigger on it. But, I don't have like a super high bankroll with like thousands of dollars, so I'm just going to use my 2 lineups. But I definitely want to just open y'all eyes up to like some possible good plays. And Andy Dalton, now that I think about it, he could be a great play. Andy Dalton and AJ Green, returning back to his hometown. I think he is from Texas, but I'm not going to stay on that too long. The last skill position, tight end. I really, really like this tight end. If y'all feel me, comment on it. But Martellus Bennett for the New England Patriots. Now, with Tom Brady coming back, a lot of people going to automatically think about Rob Gronkowski and Julian Edelman. And they may even think about Amendola. But don't forget about Martellus, man. Gronkowski, he's dealing with a hamstring injury. And hamstrings, it affects your ability to run. Any NFL player that gets a hamstring injury, you can't run at your full speed. And Martellus Bennett, he's a guy that has, an ego about him. He wants the ball. He don't want to just go out there and block. And then you look at his last game, he had 5 receptions for 109 yards. The Patriots run them 2 tight end sets, just like they used to do a few years ago with Gronkowski and Aaron Hernandez. I really, really like Martellus Bennett for 6,300 on FanDuel as a great, great GPP option. Again, with Tom Brady being back, everybody going to stack him with Gronkowski and Edelman. Them the top 2 choices. But with a GPP mindset, I'm thinking about Martellus Bennett. So I definitely like him for 6,300. and I like him a lot on DraftKings. I believe he like 3,700 on DraftKings. Other value sleeper plays, you got Hunter Henry again, value play, 5,400 of the San Diego Chargers. And I'm not sure about this one. Do your research on it. With Tyler Eifert being out, this guy for Cincinnati, Uzoma, for 5,100. He could be a good sneaky GPP play. But yeah, tight end is a position I struggle to pick. So that's all I have for that. You know, kicker. I like Vinatieri. I like Adam Vinatieri, and who's that? I like Justin Tucker, and I also like the Cincinnati kicker, Nugent. And team defenses, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on this. I'm gonna be honest and admit, I be kind of clueless on team defense. I picked the Patriots and they scored 3 points last week. It's like every week I never do right on team defense. I think week 1 I had exposure to Kansas City. They had like 0 points. So to be honest, I'm never really not sure who to pick. For right now, I got the Atlanta Falcons as my team defense. The last 2 weeks, the Falcons have had 11 fantasy points on FanDuel. You know, facing Trevor Siemian, or I'm hoping it's Paxton Lynch being a rookie. The Falcons are someone that nobody's going to pick. So, you know, if they do good, that'll help me. It seems like when I pick the logical pick at team defense, they don't do nothing. So I might as well just take a chance. That's my thinking for right now. So Atlanta Falcons, that's one of the team defenses I like. Of course, you know, everybody going to be on Minnesota. So that's going to be a chalky option. But if you're trying to go against the grain, the Falcons, definitely, I think the Steelers too. The Steelers defense. Ryan Fitzpatrick, he's thrown 6 interceptions in the last 2 games. And, you know, he might throw some interceptions this week. And then they might bring Geno Smith in there. You know he'll throw some interceptions and mess up a game. So Atlanta, Pittsburgh, and also St. Louis, they get good pressure on the quarterback. Tyrod Taylor, he might hold the ball and try to run around. But, you know, that messed me up picking against the Bills last week. But the Rams, I like them also as a GPP play. If y'all have suggestions for team defense, definitely let me know about it, because I need help with that. But overall, you know, that's my GPP lineup strategy for this upcoming week, week 5. Again, a quick recap, basing it around quarterback, receivers, wide receiver stacks. I'm going to the black hole, and I like Derek Carr and Amari Cooper. And then my second stack, I like Big Ben and Antonio Brown. Other than the stacks and receivers, I definitely like Jarvis Landry, Steve Smith, as 2 of my favorites. At running back, I like Ezekiel Elliott and Todd Gurley, just taking a chance, not based on his game logs, but just taking a chance and just hoping he shows some of the signs of what he showed last year. Definitely want to point out a value play, a very important value play in my opinion, that running back, DeAndre Washington of the Oakland Raiders, especially if Latavius Murray sits out. Tight end, I just went over that. I really like Martellus Bennett. Other tight ends, Walker, Delaney Walker, but he's battling a hamstring injury. And Jordan Reed, I think he's a good play also. You know, kicker, you know, not too much to talk about. I just picked Vinatieri for right now. And again, like I said, team defense, I'm kind of clueless on that. You know, I got the Falcons, but, you know, do your research and, you know, pick who you think is best. And lastly, for my DraftKings people, just going to go over some value and sleeper plays. The pricing is just so different on DraftKings. You can find so much value because they put players as low as like $2,700, $2,500. So you can definitely find some value quickly. For DraftKings, wide receiver, Steve Smith Sr., 5,300. Shepard, 3,100. Mike Wallace, 5,100. Enunia for the New York Jets, 4,600, especially if Decker sits out. Cole Beasley for 4,300. Think he plays good at home. Crowder for the Redskins for 4,600. Tyrell Williams for 4,700. And Quick for 3,200 of the Los Angeles Rams. Excuse me. Tight end, Martellus Bennett, 3,700. Great value on DraftKings. Jesse James, 2,900 of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Good value. Not saying they good plays, but good value plays. And Hunter Henry, again, especially if Antonio Gates sits out for 3,300. Great value play. At running back, like I mentioned on FanDuel, DeAndre Washington of the Oakland Raiders for 3,400. Great value play. Crowell for 4,800. Not saying he's a good play, but the value for 4,800, he's in play. And Terrence West for the Baltimore Ravens for 4,800. They just cut Justin Forsett. I believe the OPRK on DraftKings is like 30 or 31 as far as the Washington Redskins versus running backs. So they are good value plays. And at quarterback, it's a lot of value, but Derek Carr at 6,800, Stafford at 6,600, and I didn't even talk about this guy, Phillip Rivers for 6,900. They are playing against the Raiders, one of the worst defenses in the league, but I've been using Phillip Rivers a lot through the first 4 weeks of the season, and he just really hasn't shown up for me. But he's in a good spot, but the Chargers, it's always kind of tough to play them in DFS, in my opinion, because Melvin Gordon could go off, the running game could go off, and then with receivers, you don't know if it's going to be Travis Benjamin or Tyrell Williams or Inman. So it's kind of hard to identify, who's going to be the most productive players for the Chargers. But, that game right there, the Chargers versus the Raiders, that's just a great DFS game to target, in my opinion. But, that's about it. FanDuel, DraftKings, GPP lineup strategy. Looking forward to this week. I'm going to put this video to a close. I definitely, like always, want to thank everybody who's taking the time out to view this video. And thank you so much to everyone who subscribed to the YouTube channel. Up to like 132 subscribers. Search for me on all the social media outlets. Just search hashtag BeTheBestDFS. And you can find me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and also on, of course, on this YouTube channel. So, I'm definitely excited about this week. Last week was good. I'm continuing to make progress. And hopefully I can, be successful and be very, very profitable. If you like these videos, please just like it and subscribe. Comment on the videos. I'll definitely try to respond to you. Comment, join the Facebook group. Just, create some dialogue or whatever so we can try to help each other win. And, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just going to close the video right now. I don't even know what else to say. But good luck to everyone who's playing MLB, preseason NBA. And good luck to everyone this upcoming week, week 5 NFL. And as always, try to be the best. All right, I'm out.